You know, it's always cool when you can end games with King Crush, right? Every season on Standard Mode, I play a few games with Recruit Hunter. This is Sam Knows' HS's Recruit Hunter deck, which I featured on my channel a couple of weeks ago. It still works every season. I still get some wins with it. It's pretty awesome. But today's focus is Murloc Mage. Now, this deck is great to play if you don't want to think about anything. If you've had a hard day, you've come home and you're thinking, alright, I just need to play something that's easy to navigate. I just need to play something that isn't going to challenge my brain. This deck here is pretty sweet, pretty easy to play. Basically, you need a 1-drop to start, okay? So you need to mulligan for a 1-drop. Mana Worm is pretty good to start with. Hey, Mana Worm, coin Mana Worm, or Mana Worm into a Frostbolt to remove something that they play. If you can get the Mana Worm train going, that in itself can win games. Alternatively, Murloc Tidecaller, coin Murloc Tidecaller, or Murloc Tidecaller, coin a Grimscale Oracle, or Murloc Tidecaller on 1 into a Tide Hunter on 2, whatever. Given the number of 1 and 2 drops that we play in this deck, the chances are you're going to get some early game synergy somehow. Now, what else is pretty cool about this deck? The deck, you know, it plays Book of Spectres, which is pretty cool for sort of refilling your hand, but maybe you want to play it when you've already got the majority of your spells in your hand. I don't know, it's you can burn fireballs, you can burn glyphs, you've got to be careful with that. Archmage Arugal for more hand refills. Pretty cool, right? Especially when comboed with Aluneth. If you get Aluneth and Arugal together, and Arugal is surviving on the board, it's pretty much game over for your opponent. So yeah, pretty sweet. So, let's have a look at the deck in action on the standard mode ladder. One positive is that the games are very, very quick. You're not talking 20-minute games with this deck. You pretty much know if you're going to be winning or losing. And we're going to start off against a hunter, whose name is Uxbridge, which is a London borough in the UK. For those of you that live in the UK, Uxbridge is, I believe, is it northeast? So it's northwest London, I think. It's a London borough. Not that far from where I am, actually. So maybe he lives in Uxbridge. It's pretty cool. Anyway, we have a 1-drop in our hand. The question is, and hey, there is some decision making with this deck. Do I want to play the 1-drop? Or do I want to coin out a 2-drop? I'm going to coin out a 2-drop. What's the logic behind that? There are 2 Murlocs on the board. Next turn, I can play the 1-drop and buff them up. That's the logic. We'll see what happens here. It also gives me stuff that I can trade into his minions, right? And I'm not too concerned about sacrificing either of those Murlocs on the board into his minions. But 5 damage to the face on turn 2 seems reasonable to me. So, the Murloc army... Oh, I was going to say the Murloc army was growing. Tar Creeper is a bit of a roadblock for us. So, do I want to buff them up? Does that do anything? It doesn't do anything. Yeah. Tar Creeper had 3 attack. The buff wouldn't have done anything there. So, we just put more stuff on the board. We have Aluneth in hand. We're not afraid of running out of stuff to do, because that can be an issue with this deck. If they clear your board, and you don't have card draw, you're pretty sad. Okay, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. 4 Murlocs on board. And now what we're waiting for really is we're waiting for a War Leader, perhaps, to buff them up even more. Notice that I didn't trade there. I just went face. The first thing that went through my mind was, should I fireball that 3/3? And then I thought, why? I am the aggressor here. I'm not used to being aggressive in Hearthstone. I tend to play control style decks or mid-range decks, and I play defensively with both of those types of deck. I'm not used to being aggressive, so going face just felt a bit unnatural to me. But I know that he's going to trade. I now know what kind of hunter he is. He's a recruit hunter. So ordering was bad there. I should have done that first. Okay, that was bad. But do you know what? It doesn't really matter. I don't think he can heal. So I have a fireball. Regardless of what happens, even if he puts a taunt on the board, I win the game. But that last turn does illustrate the issues with Book of Spectres. You can burn your fireballs. You can burn your frostbolts if you're not careful. But Recruit Hunter now doing Recruit Hunter things. He's going wide on the board. He's putting big taunts down. Probably going to try and, you know, summon Devil Saws and other charging dinosaurs. But it's pretty much game over. Pretty much game over, despite his board presence now. Yeah, Fireball's going to end it. There was no healing there. No healing at all. And there we go. I mean, if it had gone badly for us, we still have Aluneth, right? So we could still draw some spells, or we could still draw more Murlocs. Alright, next game. It's against a Shaman. We have the Mana Worm in hand, and I'm keeping that 3-drop. Was that the right play? I don't know. In my mind, I'm just thinking curve, right? From a mid-range and a control standpoint, which is what I'm used to playing. I see 1, 2, 3, we can count, we have a curve, seems good. We are an aggressive deck though, we're an aggro deck, and so whether I should have mulliganed away the 3-drop and look for something cheaper, I'm not entirely sure. Anyway. Let's see if Arugal can survive on the board here. He's a prime target for removal, and I'm going to make an assumption that the Shaman has no way of removing him. Beyond a Lightning Bolt, beyond an Earth Shock, which will silence his effect.
I wonder.
Let's see what he's got. There's only 3 mana in play. Oh, plus sides. There's only 3 mana in play, so he cannot Hero Power, get a Spell Power Totem, and Maelstrom Portal on the same turn. He can next turn, though. Lightning Storm's also a possibility. This looks like Shadowwalk Shaman to me. But we've got some value from Arugal. So, if he dies now, are we sad? Yes, we're still sad. But it's okay. Oh, he doesn't have an answer to Arugal. Wow. This could just carry us for the rest of the game. Oh, he thinks that's going to help him. Yeah. That's... Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Yeah, that play that we just saw is good for Shadowwalk, but you got to get to the Shadowwalk turn, right? This guy is not going to be alive in time to play Shadowwalk. And I'm going to commit both Frostbolts here to preserve my board. Heading into our turn 5, and we have double Murloc War Leader. We're going to play one of them. Wow. Pyromancer. Just to remove 1 minion?
Speak to me.
Yeah, just to remove 1 minion. Huh. There is no lethal here. So we're just gonna be controlling a control style deck. It's gonna keep the board clear. I'm now conscious of things like Volcano. I'm conscious of things like Maelstrom Portal. I'm conscious of cards that that can clear board easily. There's the Lightning Storm. Okay. If he's running Lightning Storm, I suspect he'll also be running Volcano. So now we're in that territory where we have to be careful. There's Healing Rain. Okay, sure. Now, you cannot second guess yourself with this deck. I'm almost saying, what I mean is, I'm almost saying you cannot play around AoE. I could have spent the last 90 seconds sitting there thinking about whether to commit to the board or not in fear of another AoE. You can't spend that time thinking. You just got to go for it and hope they don't have it. Because otherwise you can't win. You win through board pressure, through Murlocs. And then you can finish your opponent off with spells like Fireballs. But, yeah, 4 active Murlocs on board. We can double War Leader here. We also have the Oracle. That's a lot of damage. Can't play the Oracle though. Oh, it's one off. I wasn't even counting that properly, and it's one off. Was there actually a way to get some kind of lethal there? I couldn't hero power. Let's see if he's got more healing. You see, he has to remove the board and heal at the same time. That's difficult. That's difficult. You'd need Volcano and Healing Rain at the same time. Or Lightning Storm and Healing Rain, or something. In the end, maybe Shadowwalk Shaman is just too slow against this deck. And if he does manage to heal and clear, maybe we can get Aluneth.
Little time.
Because our hand is pretty much exhausted at the moment. Yeah, that's it. That's a really sweet win. Going all in there, not being scared to commit to the board. That's what helped us win the game. Alright, this little highlight here against a hunter, sorry, a rogue, called Big Daddy. Big Daddy, for those of you that from the UK, Big Daddy was a famous pro wrestler back in the 80s, I think. Back when British wrestling was a big deal. Big Daddy. Anyway. Fond memories of World of Sport, I believe, back in the 80s. Bit of wrestling trivia there, for those of you that are interested. Committing the sap. How interesting. Oh well. Just replay it.
Amazing.
Indeed. Amazing. Okay, that's pretty good for him. Denying me my buff value from the Megasaur. He's gonna play it anyway. It's a 5/4, right? It's gonna smack his face for 5. I'm now eyeing up Arugal. I have Aluneth in hand as well. So this game is going to get quite interesting very quickly. I just need to decide on how I want to proceed. Wow, that's all he's got? I was at least expecting deadly poison.
I curse them all.
Alright, let's see what happens. That's bad. That's good.
That's it.
That's good. Alright. This is pretty sweet. Now we're going super wide on the board, and he has multiple targets on that board that he has to kill. In fact, he needs to remove all of them. They're all dangerous. Megasaur hits him for 5. Manaworm gets buffed up. Arugal does disgusting things with my hand. That sounded wrong. And those 2 other Murlocs, they get buffed up. So his deck, sadly, is just far too slow. You see, normally this would be a good play that he's making. He'd end up eventually with a board full of 4/4s. It's just that my board is going to fill up quicker than him. Than his, rather. And he's doing what he can here. Right, he's doing what he can. But he's left these Murlocs up. And I now have double War Leader. I mean, or I can play a Megasaur. He's spoilt for choice here. And most importantly, Arugal is still alive on this board. Ah, yeah, it's over. So, the snowball effect with this deck, you can just sweep your opponent.
Games begin.
Alright. Next little game is against a rogue again, sorry. Now, this is an interesting hand. Rockpool Hunter with Murloc Tidecaller is pretty cool. I have the coin, right? So I can Tidecaller and Oracle at the same time. Or I can just Tidecaller and wait. But now I'll play the Oracle. So I'm happy to sacrifice the Oracle here. I know it's going to get daggered down, but it's done some work, right? It's buffed up the Tidecaller by 1. That's still something. Most importantly, this is creating a sense of pressure. Okay, how interesting. I was expecting a dagger. He plays an Eviscerate. But that's too bad. Now he cannot dagger down the Oracle. So, we have 5 attack on board here. Backstab? Sap! Oh, that doesn't do anything, my friend. That really doesn't do anything. I'm just going to replay it. Oh no, I'm going to replay it and I'm going to buff it. So your sap was all for nothing, my friend. All for nothing. So I have Aluneth in hand, and very soon this game is going to be over. That's the prediction. I'm just going to empty my hand, play Aluneth, and just refill.
There once was a man from Gilneas.
And Elven Minstrel, hey, it's a great card. It's a great card for Rogue. It's just too slow in this instance. Just way too slow. Book of Spectres. Do I really want to... I'm not convinced about that card, actually. Just the propensity to burn spells. In this case, it doesn't matter. But in some games, I can see it mattering. Particularly if you're relying on those spells to end game. But then without Book of Spectres... What other card draw would you put in this deck? I mean, should we be playing Arcane Intellect in this deck instead of Book of Spectres? I know it's more expensive, but it's a bit safer.
Halt! Who goes there?
An Arcane Intellect draws you 2 cards. But often, drawing for 2 can still be good, can still be enough to win you the game. Anyway, there's a lot of damage on this board, and I'm very bad at counting at the moment.
Perhaps.
Murloc War Leader. So we don't have lethal through spells, but through spells alone. But Murloc War Leader plus Frostbolt is game winning. Alright, let's look at one final game. And we're going up against another Shaman. So this is probably Shadowwalk Shaman, right? All the Shamans on the ladder are Shadowwalk Shaman. It's interesting how lots of people played Shadowwalk Shaman at the start of the last expansion. And then stopped. And now everyone's playing it again. But playing more refined versions of it. They've watched the pro players playing it, and now they're playing the sort of the more refined versions, and it's very, very effective. It's just a bit slow, and against aggressive decks like this, you can really take advantage of the slowness of Shadowwalk Shaman. What you've got to hope for is that they don't draw into all of their board clears in the first half, in sort of the first half of the game, or in the first half of the deck rather. So just got to hope that in the first 15 cards, maybe they draw one board clear rather than all of them, because that's one thing you just cannot cope with. You know, if they get multiple volcanoes, multiple lightning storms, you know, in the first sort of 10 turns, you can't win. But yes, how long can this go on indeed? Says the Chain Gang. Not for much longer. What do we want? Wind Fury always seems sensible. Now we've got to do some math. This is difficult. Math is difficult, guys. Right, so I can throw in the War Leader, right? And then what do I have left? I have 6. I have 4. I have 1. I have 3. Oh yeah, I have 3. Yeah, sort of forgot for a moment that the Oracle had Wind Fury on it for some reason. But yeah, turn 5 win. Pretty awesome. Alright, so what have we learned after playing Murloc Mage? First of all, opening hand, opening mulligan. Really important to get a curve going, a 1 into a 2, and just try and snowball from there. Second thing we've learned, we just hope that our opponents don't have access to multiple AoEs. If they don't, you win the game. Third thing that I've learned, math is hard sometimes in trying to calculate lethal. I said to you guys that, you know, you can play this deck quite easily. It plays itself. Play it when you're tired. Play it when you don't want to think a lot. Sometimes you do have to think a bit in counting lethal with this deck. Okay, not always easy. Fourth thing and final thing that I've learned, Archmage Arugal surviving on the board is absolutely disgusting if comboed with Aluneth. You just steamroll. Okay, final thing to consider, Book of Spectres. Am I convinced with this card? It's cheap, you draw 3, but you have the potential to burn your spells. Would I prefer Arcane Intellect, which is more expensive, but guaranteed to draw your spells if you need them? Particularly if you need to finish your opponent off and you know that they've got stuff on board, they have taunts down, and drawing Murlocs with Spectres is not going to help you. You need to draw your fireballs to win the game. In that instance, Arcane Intellect is probably more helpful. So I need to think about that moving forward. But regardless, I'm not going to argue. The deck is super fun and it's super effective. In the end, it got me to rank 5, so I'm not going to complain. So thank you very, very much for joining me, everyone. Thank you all for the support. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe. And I'll see you guys all again very soon for more Hearthstone fun.